Larry's here. He showed up. Last episode, he did show up.
Okay, well, I'm going to start by saying that my feelings on this episode overall is, it's just that I'm okay with it. And that's a problem, I guess, that I'm just okay with it. It's kind of an awkward place to stop.
Yeah, before we go into details, just how do you feel? Yeah, you're right. That's about the same. I'm okay with it.
I'm not. I'm not. And,
I don't know. I shouldn't feel this conflicted, I think, is the problem.
Yeah.
Well, to me, it felt they set up too much stuff and didn't answer enough things. Now, clearly, the end of the episode, which we'll go into more in detail, felt like setting up for other shows, setting up for other stuff. So I think that without knowing what's in the future, this was not an appropriate end. Like not knowing, what their future projects for Game of Thrones are. If I knew, if they announced today or tomorrow, we're going to do an Arya spinoff series of her exploring whatever, I'd be like, okay, well, shit, now it makes more sense.
Right.
But we have no idea what's down the pipe for them, and it's not knowing that. I don't feel that they explained enough. I felt it was too rushed. This whole season felt rushed.
Yes.
The guys were too concentrating on their Disney deal to, pay any attention to this shit, and I'm quite disappointed. Not because of what transpired, but because of the pacing. It just too fast.
I mean, look, I think we talked about this last week. We have fun. There's scenes we laughed at. There's cool set pieces, amazing shots that would be great on a poster or a T-shirt. It's a high production series, but I feel the story they've given up. There's so many things that were rushed that it just doesn't. It felt wrong.
That's what it. Yeah, that's the best way to describe it because it didn't feel like there was enough time to lead into some of these changes that happened to people's personalities and into some of these events that happened. We didn't see a Dany that would burn down all of King's Landing before it happened. There was not a lot of good reason for that.
Well, if you watch the behind-the-scenes thing, them showing that her hair was disheveled was enough to show that
It's symbolic.
That was symbolic enough to show that she was losing it.
Right.
She didn't eat for a week.
Which was mostly because, and it was debatable, because I talked to a number of people about this, and everybody had different answers. Some people thought it was because she was aware that Viserys was trying to poison her. Some thought that she was just kind of losing it. And I think in the behind-the-scenes thing, they said because he was trying to poison her, and she was kind of aware, but it should have been clear. There was a lot that just wasn't clear or fleshed out.
Yeah. Let's jump into a theory that Spencer had last week, which was not a bad theory, but it wasn't true. And he wasn't the only one that had it. I had to talk to somebody.
Did someone have a true theory?
Jaime and Cersei. They were dead. The prophecy meant nothing, at least within the show.
Well, I'm glad that, and we'll talk more in depth about Tyrion's kind of path. I assumed that I didn't know who was going to take the throne. I, have my theories. I thought, and a while ago it might be Bran, but for a completely different reason. I wasn't thinking that it was going to be him. I didn't know whether it would be Jon or not. But I thought without his confrontation with Cersei, Tyrion's story was not going to tie up right. Like it didn't feel like closure.
Right.
What I anticipated was Tyrion was going to find him, which I was right. However,
I didn't think that would happen. I actually didn't think that was going to happen.
Yeah,
you were right about that.
But even as it was transpiring, I was like, Cersei's going to be alive and Tyrion's going to choke her to death or something.
I like your whole idea about him beating her to death with Jaime's golden hand. That might have been a thing, but it didn't seem like they ended his story,
No, and even with everything that transpired after that, it was back to original Tyrion, where he was able to talk his way out of everything, but he wasn't like that all season. So that goes back to my thing is that everything felt rushed, and like you were saying, the end of this series, this season, everything has felt rushed and not truly fully explained,
Right.
and I didn't like that.
And we didn't get a proper into, well, like you're saying, we didn't get a proper into the conflict between Tyrion and his sister, which has been a conflict that's been going on since the beginning of this series. We didn't get a
Because of
conversation between them.
Because of a prophecy that was predicted. She protected herself against Tyrion because of
Thought
a
he was gonna
prophecy.
kill her.
And they didn't
So-
get one last, conversation even with each other.
No.
Yeah, it's kind of a loss.
Speaking of speeding up, Danny's death. I mean, there was no setup, there was no build up. It just happened. It happened quickly. First of all, he stabs her. Blood starts pouring out of her nose. And everything. I don't know. Okay, whatever.
It's possible, depending on where he hit her.
I
However,
guess. Yeah, it is. But I don't know. They were just trying to be a little dramatic for the scene, but.
but the only way it even if you count the Tyrion scene with Jon before that as a lead up to that happening, it still makes sense that it happened. However, Jon looking pained while he was kissing her, that, showed that he didn't want to, he was trying to distract her. But like we were talking about, there's no guards, there's nobody there. If you count the dragon being there, Jon just walks right by it.
The way it was done also was very cliched. I brace you, I
Kiss of
you,
death.
Yeah.
I stab you.
Well, and it's
I want a Fredo and Danny meme like together.
and it's at a point where we've been led to believe, even though this was a huge jump in the first place, where okay, she wants to rule by fear. She's lost trust in pretty much everybody, and yet, like you said, there's no guards there, and yet she's still trying again to get.
I had a
Jon
lot
to
of
rule
issues
her.
with that.
Yeah, it's
She's in a room. She just ruled. She just conquered the kingdom. She's in a room. No advisors. No guards. Nobody. And you're like, oh well, Jon's close to her and this and that. Yeah, but she's been betrayed, and she's made a point that she's been continually betrayed by those close to her. So
Right.
why would she trust Jon or anybody?
Well, she doesn't know that Jon's going to be the only one that would make it up there. Like, who else would be able to, have access to that? And her not being guarded by anybody, I get the dragon was there, but I just don't feel that at this point, she just got done doing this long speech about how she's going to rule everybody. She's basically going to be that breaker of the wheel of time that's going to be the spin-off watch. Arya's going to find Robert Jordan, and it's going to be the Wheel of Time spin-off. But they
did talk about that will, and they kept talking about breaking the will like 50 times. Like, okay,
but that's what I'm saying is that she in her mind is, I'm going to conquer all these other places. So she still has that war mindset. Why would she put down her guard at this point?
right.
If that's still her mindset.
the throne was there.
The throne was distracting.
It was a scene that was written for the purposes of getting to the end of the scene, not for telling a story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they were like, all right, what do we need to happen? We need this is okay. This no.
Well, yeah,
What's the quickest, easiest way to get from point A to point B?
You make a good point. It very much felt like there were points in an outline that like this has to happen, this has to happen, this has to happen. It doesn't matter how we get there as long as we get there quickly and wrap this up.
And then
and Drago burning
come
down
on,
the throne.
man, that was stupid.
To me, okay, this is how. There's a couple things that I've talked about how you could fix it. Just like they didn't follow my heed with Tyrion. Like, they could have unfucked that scene. They started to, but then they didn't finish unfucking it. But Jon standing in front of the Iron Throne, Drago opens up his mouth and burns Jon and the throne. The throne melts. The symbolism of the Iron Throne no longer having meaning. I get that. But to me, Jon withering away from it, like showing that Jon's a Targaryen and he's the unburnt, like that wouldn't have hurt him. That would have made sense.
That'd been a
to me.
great show. Jon could have acted very depressed, sad he just killed Dany. He could have went and sat on the throne, not claiming it so much, but out of,
Right? As a burden, if
the
anything.
dragon burns the throne. Everything on Jon burns off of him. The throne burns itself. He kneels there, not hurt, alive, like you described, looking at the burned throne, realize, there could have been a cool moment, but that would have taken work and time. and
Well,
effort,
extra $50
extra
of,
money.
Well, here's what I kind of thought when I saw that scene and the dragon was shooting fire at the throne. Well, like I said, I thought he was going to hit Jon, he was going to hit the throne. I thought the throne was kind of going to melt, not completely melt, but melt into sort of a softer form, just sort of representing a kinder, gentler rule by Jon Snow in a way. Like the throne's not melted away completely because someone's going to rule. You know, in fact, you didn't really even get rid of a king. You just have several kings now. It's the same system.
Yeah, well,
It's not really a change.
That's a pretty good segue.
Well, yeah, we're going into that. The council. I don't even know where to start.
Sam for king.
I,
Democracy. man.
I've joked. I don't know if I've joked on video. I know I've discussed it in the past that I had a slight fear that they would introduce democracy into Game of Thrones, and I was like, that would be stupid and just a dumb idea.
Because then you got another war in your hand if you decide to do that.
Well, timepiece wise, that wasn't applicable
doesn't
to
work.
that time.
And I'm glad they did a joke with Sam. And I actually I like the scene. I like the fact that he pitched the idea of democracy.
They all
And
laughed
they
at him.
thought he was insane. And I even like the little smirk on Sam's. I'm like,
She's trying real hard not to
She's
laugh
like-
at him.
You know, it was a funny moment. But boy, oh boy, that scene. There's so much wrong with it if you really start breaking it down.
Well, to me, to pick Bran after Sansa basically commands the Tully Lord to sit down.
Let's go to the Greyjoys. Why are the Greyjoys so loyal to Daenerys to want Jon dead? That makes no sense to me. The only people that would want Jon dead are the Unsullied and the Dothraki. No one else. I can't imagine anyone else caring that he killed the woman who slayed thousands of innocent people.
Right.
I don't see it. She hasn't been on the. She hasn't earned her place on the throne yet. And then as far as she helped defeat the King of the North. I mean the Night King. No, she didn't. The Starks did.
Yeah.
Arya did.
It was just basically Arya. Everybody else is going to die. You know. It was
I
mostly-
don't understand the Greyjoy. That scene irritated me, and I guess they did it because they had to show that there was conflict in what we do with Jon. I like Sansa's declaration. I have thousands of Northern men out there who, if you kill Jon, it's on.
Right.
If you kill Jon, it's on. and then Grey Worm's
Her
like,
words
well,
verbatim.
our guys are ready to fight, and that's when Davos and I'm like, whoa.
Well, I'm glad he went back there because
But then
this is my
fucking
thing.
And then go to
Grey Worm
the
just
the
left.
Dothraki. Go to that. We talked about this.
Why would the Dothraki just not instantly want Jon's head then and there? There wouldn't be a period of time where he's in jail or whatever. They'd be fighting even the Unsullied to take Jon's head. after he
They
did
would
that.
never allow their queen a justice to not be served. Absolutely not. It makes no sense. They're not diplomats. They're not going to come to an agreement. That made absolutely no sense. And then they're just going to get on boats, which they hate.
Right, and sail
The
back.
only reason they went the first time was because they had their queen, who they believed in. Now they're just going to get on their boats and go back. That made no sense to me.
Well, like Grey Worm, he fights to get Jon. He fights for justice, and then he didn't agree with them, so he's just like, "Fuck it, let's go back to." Like he's out.
what happens. Yeah.
So now, what's to hold them to kicking Jon out? The only people that were really opposed to it were the Greyjoys, who their ships have all been destroyed because Euron controlled most of them. They all got burned to shit. Yara, they showed that she only had like 5 of them. So their navy is what, 6 ships? So you have 6 ships. So you're worried about pissing off somebody with 6 ships and somebody who dipped out?
Yeah.
So you banished Jon north of the wall. He stopped at, Castle Black and went north. Like, I thought that was a cool ending, but
He didn't have to.
he didn't have to. Like, you're compromised with a group of people that left and a group of people who couldn't defend themselves.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
And then, so
Plus, they live on an island. They'd never know.
Sansa wants. I agree she would want this, but there would be more.
Mm-hmm.
This is why I said it was sped up. We said that this particular sequence should have led to 2 or 3 episodes. There should have been discussion. She wants the North to be independent, its own kingdom.
Which it was for a long time.
Which
They
it
have
used to
different
be.
gods. They have different everything. I
She
get
wanted
it.
to be, and then the South would be its own kingdom, the North would be its own kingdom forever. And the idea was that the Starks would rule the North forever. Whoever her child
They
is,
were.
her eldest child, I don't know, I guess they don't care, male or female, her eldest daughter or whatever, will rule the kingdom.
Right.
Fine. But Dorne is going to sit there and agree to this? and not challenge the idea that why not? Well, if you're going to be independent, why not all the kingdoms? Why all the 7 kingdoms? Why just the Starks? Why the 6 kingdoms now under one rule, and the Starks get to rule their own? I just don't see why everybody was just on board instantly.
Well, and I
Right.
think that probably won't go totally that way in the book, that there will be an argument. It will be prolonged out. But because you look at Dorne, they basically, since the Mountain killed, what's his nuts?
Ilya Viper.
Yeah,
Oh,
the
his
Viper.
sister.
I don't remember his real name. But once he killed, the Viper, Dorne's story was like gone.
Oh,
They were in like 2 episodes afterwards where, Elio Martell was like trying to take back over, but then that lasted like, what, 3 episodes? So they've been non-existent the last like 2.5 seasons. They just don't give a shit. So them showing up to me was like paying homage to them, but they still should have just been like, they still should have argued, and then just been like, you know what, it may be for the best. Even if they came to a point where
Yes.
they agreed, but them not arguing at all was bullshit.
Well, I could see them coming to an agreement, a compromise. Okay, we'll allow that, but we want X, Y, Z. There was nothing. They within 2-3 minutes decided the fate of the kingdom, who would rule the entire kingdom, both now 2 kingdoms,
Well,
and there was no pushback.
the only justification I think that you can apply to it is think of, and this is reaching, by the way. I don't think of that time frame back then. Whoever had the biggest army, whoever had the most people ruled. So now if Bran's the king, you said that Bran's going to be the king. Look at Sansa, who's going to defend Bran. So now you have
They have
anything
a
that Bran
powerful
controls
army.
and the North fighting Dorne. So like anybody who was willing to step up and challenge that, it basically be Bran and everybody else that he was controlling,
well, yeah, and that's-
and the North versus
well,
them.
And that's a good point because, any other house that wasn't in that war against the White Walkers would be like, wait a minute, this just looks like the Starks are trying to take over all of Westeros.
But at that point, Dorne could make the calculation that they have a navy. I don't know what Bran's rocking as a navy at that point. They have a navy, and at that moment in time, they could still ally with the Unsullied and the Dothraki.
Remember, and this is why I get pissed off, is
I'm
because
saying
they don't
they're-
explain this shit, but White Harbor was considered one of the naval capitals of all of Westeros, which is in the north. And you see Arya at the end riding off on a ship that was built for her, it was the Starks. But you don't tell us any of that. We know at the beginning that Greyjoys and Dorne have the navies. That's who have the navy. So now you have these 2 naval people who are just going to be like, yeah, we're just going to let you do whatever the hell you want. When they were the ones that could come and conquer someplace, they could bring an army to wherever they want. They don't have to march.
The whole series has been about the Game of Thrones, the fight for power and the politics behind it, and yet the series ends on a 5-minute debate on who should rule. Think about that. Think about that, and no one disputes it. No arguments.
Everybody just kind of goes, okay.
Everyone's fighting
Like
for power until
even
then.
Grey Worm is just okay. Like, yeah,
So
sure, you can banish him to the north. It doesn't sound like a punishment, but
And speaking of, you banish Jon to. I mean, I guess we'll go through each one.
to the place he's felt most at home.
He's going to go. They show it. He leaves the wall. He's
To be king of the north.
He's going to be king of the north above the wall. He will rule above the wall. Sansa will rule the north. Bran will rule the south.
Arya's going to
Arya's
rule
gonna
whatever's
go
west of Westeros.
on her adventures. The Starks will rule everything, and I guess their idea was Bran will be ruler of the south. Then I guess when he dies, they'll
Elect a guy.
elect a new guy, which is stupid because damn well Sansa will she'll have probably multiple children.
But-
One of them will be her heir, and then the other one she'll be like, they're going to take over the south. And I dare you to not let them because I have an army.
But here's my thing, is that if it's a council of people electing, the north would no longer be part of that council.
No, they wouldn't.
Because they
That's a good
wouldn't be
point.
ruling
That's a
those
good
6
point.
kingdoms. So
That's a good point.
Well, but how does this not create a situation
She's still
where once
I mean, it's
every
still
king,
possible.
But you're right. You're right. Yeah,
where before the election of every new king, there's just war in these 6 kingdoms?
absolutely.
Why would that not happen?
Because you're going to be the politics of trying to see who's going to be the next ruler.
You just agreed to have a war every generation.
each generation.
Well, and that's why I think Bran personally was could be a good ruler. He's, you know,
What
has zero empathy, zero, like, it's
What's
just,
to keep the North from not just eventually taking over? As the decades go on, the North's going to get stronger. Bran is part of the North.
well, John's loyal to the North, so
No,
what happens,
Jon
all the
rules
wildlings
above
and
the
everybody above the wall coming to their aid. All
Bran,
the shit they didn't explain, you know, like ice dragons and all the other rumors and what's really below Winterfell, which has been a rumor the entire fucking time, but never explained that. What the me and Larry were talking about this when we went to the bathroom. The little White Walker symbol, the little
Oh, yeah.
sun spear
Yeah.
looking thing, the sun looking thing. The only thing that I could think of when Bran taking over was it's cyclical. Like, I still thought Bran was the Night King, which they never fucking explained anything about Bran.
The Night
which
who?
pissed me.
See, they never explained anything about the Night King either, what his motivations
Yes.
were.
So I thought that Bran was the Night King. It basically shows the cycle where he becomes in charge of the South. Winter is coming. Like, the long winter was coming. Like, it doesn't necessarily, I think, mean that the White Walkers are coming, that anything, but it snowing there didn't necessarily mean there was ash. It wasn't a nuclear winter.
I thought it
but
was at first, but then as it
Yeah.
wore on, that
It could be that
snow.
winter finally moves south. So John knew that, or not John, Bran knew that was coming. So now what happens if Bran becomes the Night King? That would explain the cyclical thing that the White Walkers had. It's a cycle. It's Bran, here to here. Bran was Bran the Builder. He's tried to stop himself initially. Like,
So
there's a
perhaps
lot of
Bran still is tied
Yes.
into this whole.
Yes, but they didn't explain any
They
of that
don't,
shit.
they don't.
So now it's literally us talking about it. It's a debate. It's not any
there is a line,
explanation.
a line which I know they did it on purpose, where Bran is asking about where the dragon is, and they make the point they don't know. They've heard rumors he was going, you know, east or west or whatever.
And he's like, well, perhaps I'll find him.
Perhaps I'll. That's like one of his last lines. Perhaps I'll look for him. We know he has powers. We know this and that. Why does he want him? And B, you know, the ending of the show wasn't so much an ending of a series as much as it was a setup for another series.
And that's
the problem.
And that's what I was saying. Not knowing what the next series is, to me, is the biggest issue. If tonight they come out and say, all right, this is the season we're doing next. This is the timeline we're doing next. This is what we're going to do. I'd be like, okay, I understand why Arya went west of Westeros. I understand why Sansa's up north. I understand why Jon got banished north of the wall or why Bran's important. But right now, I have no fucking clue. I have no idea. And like you said, it's like a spinoff going into another thing that we have no idea what it's going to be.
Yeah, those last few minutes, it all just looked like setup. It was all just setup. It wasn't an ending. It
I
wasn't
didn't
a
feel like
conclusion.
it was in the conclusion. Yeah.
Well,
This
yeah.
was a stay tuned. Something else is coming. You know, you got, you know, Sansa putting on her dress and everything. Arya prepping her sword, getting on a ship. You got Jon going north beyond the wall. Like, this was all set up. No one was settling in. No one was getting comfortable. It was the start of a bunch of separate adventures. It wasn't an ending.
To me, you look at any end of a series, and there's a lot of shows I don't watch, but the end of The Wire.
Yes.
It's almost like an epilogue.
Perfect.
It shows that here's the end of the series, that all of these things mattered. Here's an explanation of kind of why it happened. It's not all happy, which
No.
I don't disagree with.
It's one of the
It's-
greatest beginning, middle, and ends of a series I've ever seen.
So you have a show like that where it felt like closure, and it was only 5 seasons.
Yeah.
So it felt like closure. This felt rushed, and it felt like not closure. It should have tied up, whether they're going to do spin-offs or not, with closure. And then even afterwards, say they wanted to do a spin-off and they wanted to set it here. You could set out a 5-minute webisode or 5-minute thing where it's just trailer for a new series. You're like, oh shit, that does make sense because XYZ happened, as opposed to now where unless it happens, I don't feel like this episode was good.
It felt very much like D&D were saying, well, what happens next? Well, that's somebody else's problem.
So I started talking about Dune a little bit.
I told him to shut up and wait because
Yeah, I'm not gonna go super into the details because I don't want to spoil Dune if anyone's gonna read those
book
books.
that came out 50 years ago.
But if you get in, as you get into the Dune books,
Don't look at me.
Specifically, as the series goes on, one of the characters rises up, God Emperor of Dune, and basically the character comes to the conclusion that in order to truly rule properly, because he's seen examples of how ruling has failed within his family, he has to become something more than human. So what he does is he becomes he becomes this creature, basically a giant worm, man. There you go. But it allows him to live extremely long time, and he has so much spice within him, which I don't. Spice basically gives you powers and stuff, or it can.
It's like the Metachlorians.
So he has so much spice that he actually now can see the future. So what he does is he knows he'll live. I can't remember how he lives. Does he live 4,000 years? He lives thousands of years, and he can see the future. So he knows, okay, I'll live X amount of time. So what he does is, as he's living, he's playing the universe like chess. He's setting up positions. He's wiping these guys out. He's positioning these people. He's setting up these families because he knows one day he will be gone, but he still needs the universe to run in order. So there are things that are happening after he's long gone that he set into motion because he knew it was coming. I say all that to say Bran can see time. He can tap into time, etc. All of a sudden now he's been declared ruler of the kingdom. He made the point that he was there, and he clearly knew he was going to be asked to be king. That's why he was there. Is he not the God Emperor of Dune?
I think that
God Emperor of Westeros.
I think you make a lot of good points with that, because you look at, like you said,
Saying they're
being
ripping
able
off
to-
Dune.
Yes. Well, when you said that he can see failed empires before him, when he goes back in time and see what happened, before, when he goes back to Hodor and sees the death of the, the first people, or the first children of the Forest.
Children of the Forest.
There you go. Like, he saw those. He saw that, them kill the first men that came through. Like, he saw a lot of wrongs along the way. So, like you said, you see all these things that screwed up. Well, I can do it the right way and set up. And like you said, he's setting up Sansa in the north. He's setting up Jon north of that. Like, he's setting up Arya west of Westeros. Like,
He's setting these things
he's
up.
setting these things in motion.
And he has this ability, this time, being able to see
Him pulling in Tyrion to be,
when this
loyal to him is setting up Lannister.
the scene when he sort of admitted that I'm here because I know I'm going to be king.
Yeah.
That's the moment I thought of Dune. I was like, this sounds like he's like, and we had already joked that he was sort of a god anyways. Bran, he's not really human anymore.
Which is part of what, given what he is now, it's part of what I didn't like about that moment, because he seems apathetic to this whole process of choosing a king. Like, his purpose is something bigger, and you get the idea that from the beginning when he meets the original Three-Eyed Raven, and it's this man that's bound to a tree, that's bound to a network of trees. That he's basically, he's bigger than that, and the petty concerns of choosing a king and deciding how it's ruled and who it's ruled by should be beneath him, because his whole purpose was to ensure that all life still exists, and that kind of seems to be the part of the purpose of the Three-Eyed Raven.
And the wirewood trees were a northern thing. So him talking about being able to find the dragon in the east, or wherever it's at, I don't remember where he said it.
Why
Those
does
are
he want it?
Yeah. Well, and my thing is, how the hell is he going to find it? Even the Three-Eyed Raven, like, it's supposed to be kind of a northern lore myth thing. It had nothing
Is
to
it
do-
more set up that he foresees a greater threat, or he knows of something else that he's already setting up for?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
But that's when
Which would be the only thing that would make sense. It would be the only reason that it would make sense for him to take the Six Kingdoms in the first place.
Oh, and that's the thing, is that, like we've been saying this whole time, it felt like a lead into another thing,
Yeah.
and not a final episode of a series.
I didn't feel the closure. I felt like you said, I felt more of it's just a setup for the next one.
This actually personally gives me fear for what they're taking over next.
Star Wars, yeah.
Because I'm a huge
Well,
Star Wars
especially-
fan, but like if you look at,
Let
I
Larry
think-
tell you what he discovered today.
Oh, all right. That they're responsible for the original Deadpool. swords out of the arms, mouth sewn shut, Deadpool teleporting, shooting lasers out of his
They
eyes.
did Wolverine Origin, apparently.
Well, they did a good job. Baraka Deadpool.
So that's what they did with X-Men. And now they got
They're in charge of Star
Wars.
Wars, yeah. Well, see, like Game of Thrones, there's not a whole lot of. I mean, there's the books, and they did a good job covering the
First
books.
handful of seasons,
I mean,
absolutely.
I understand. To me, I don't know why they left out certain parts because given 10 episodes for a 1,000-page book, that's 10 hours. You should be able to cover all the shit that's in a book. I get out leaving some people who are unimportant for like the end game, but I still don't foresee why they didn't get. The first couple seasons were like dead. Like I'm flipping through the book, I'm like, oh shit, that just happened. Like, you know, you could see it page by page, but I don't know about the end source of this source material, how it's going to differentiate. So them taking over something like Star Wars Star Wars that has a huge like comic background. There's all kinds of lore. There's
And I think that's the
so
problem.
much setup. Now they're going to be bound by that. Are they going to fuck it up?
What,
Yes. The
what-
answer is yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they are.
And it allows for too much freedom is the problem, that they can just pretty much do whatever they want. You know, you may say to yourself, what, Jedis don't do that? Like, well, in their story they do. You
Yeah.
know?
They
this
used to.
particular sect of the Jedi.
These are old Jedi's. Or new Jedi's.
Well,
I don't know
and,
which
and once again,
time
you know,
jump they're going with.
like once it became inconvenient, we ditched a lot. Well, we didn't. They did. They ditched a lot of the mystical elements of Game of Thrones. Threw a lot of that away. What the hell happened with Benjen Stark? You know, being undead and having a flaming flail, and you know, and there's just lots of those elements that they threw away. And now they're going to work on a Star Wars series and not respect the mystical parts of that, of the Force and how it works. You know.
Like I said, I think that they took over their new contract for Star Wars. They started working on it and were just like, fuck this. Because I know that, like we were talking about that, HBO offered them, hey, you can do 10 episodes. You can do another season
only gonna
to
do
explain
another
this.
season.
And they're like, nah, we can do it in 6. No, you couldn't.
No, you couldn't.
No,
Wait.
it needed to be 10. I think that you could have tied this story up with 10.
Better, much better.
Definitely.
You could have led up to, you know, Danny losing her shit. You could have had a council meeting on episode 9 that led up to this stuff. And then do almost like an epilogue type thing in episode 10 where you show the effects of them choosing Bran as king. Them, you know, sending Jon north of the wall. So 9 is, you know, them making Bran king. 10 is the effect of that. And then the episodes leading up to episode 8 where Danny dies, there's actually a lead up to it as opposed to what happened this place.
Well, yeah, and I'm just going to say that if they had those episodes to lead into those things, you know, I think we all agree that we have no problem with what happened here, just kind of how it was executed. You know, you have to lead to Danny
I have
feeling
no-
isolated. You have to lead
Yes.
to Bran regaining at least enough of his humanity that he actually gives a shit about the Seven Kingdoms.
I can live. Absolutely. I feel that Danny will
Put a different
turn.
bow on Cersei and Jamie.
Danny, yeah, I feel Danny
Fuck that
will
fella.
turn mad. I feel Bran may be king in the books. Those things might actually happen in the books, but I don't believe they'll happen exactly how they happen here. I think they'll be fleshed out more. I think they'll make more sense. And plus, there's a lot of characters that are dead in the show that are not dead in the books that I think will have influence and a role to play in certain areas.
Lady Stoneheart.
Lady Stoneheart being a big
Yeah.
one. So I think there's things that'll happen differently in the books. Now the Jamie and Cersei thing is the number one thing. That does not happen in the books. I will continue to declare
There's too
that
much
until
foreshadowing.
it happens unless it happens actually in the books. I will not believe it.
There's too much foreshadowing. There's too much stuff, and that's why I'm not 100% sure that Jon kills Danny. I think it might be reversed in the books. I think that Jon might kill the Night King, and Arya kills Danny. Because there's a prophecy of the different colored eyes that she's gonna kill everybody. However, that part might not be in the book, so fuck, who knows?
And what was the point of the horse last episode? Now that I think about
Nothing.
it, I thought there was going to be something to that.
Well,
in
we
this
talked
episode.
about that. Her hopping on a white horse. That's very heroic. That's a a trope of westerns where the man on the white horse, whatever.
Right.
But
And it also
Well,
kind of
yeah.
fits with the whole, Agent of Death thing she's got going. Death rides a pale horse.
yeah, but she
etc.
didn't do
She killed
anything
nobody
in the
this
last
episode. She did
episode.
nothing this episode.
That's what I'm saying. We were talking about that. If you do that, have her kill Danny, then it makes sense.
Uh-huh.
Like she's the pale horse riding off, and
It felt like that was going somewhere with that, and they're like,
but
no.
instead she just rides
gonna
off on a
hang
white
out.
horse, and then she sees the Dothrakis, turns around and goes back. Like, she didn't ride off anywhere. She rode outside the gate and turned around and came back.
She
And she didn't go anywhere. Like, there was no point to
did
that.
That's a
nothing
good
this
point.
episode.
That is a very good
She
point.
did nothing. This was her least. She didn't do nothing.
And I'm not mad with the Starks that living.
No.
Arya's my favorite character. I think Sansa, and we were talking about this while the show was airing, had the most character growth of any character. Because in the first couple seasons, on the show, in the books, I still don't like her. She's still a whiny bitch. But in the show, she started as, this whiny crybaby, and then some shit happened to her, and then she was forced to grow as a person. And she did that. I think that hers was the most. I love Arya in the show. I loved her in the books. But I felt like this last episode made no sense for her character. John, I love in the books. He's done a good job in the show, but to me, we equate this to Harry Potter. If you look at Harry Potter in the movies, he's a crybaby. In the books, he's a badass. He's talking shit to Malfoy and everything.
He's way different.
That's what I equate John to in this. John is very movie version of Harry Potter. Where he's kind of like, but he's not like that in the books at all. So, him trying to show, and that could just be an actor thing, and I like Kit Harington. It's not.
He's doing a good job with what he's being handed.
Yeah.
His career's over. Let's be honest. He's tried to do a few movies.
And nothing has worked out.
I don't know. Have you seen the HBO thing with him in the tennis movie?
He better stick with HBO.
Oh, dude.
That could be his.
Have you seen
thing.
that though?
I
Oh, dude, you should
You're
watch
gonna see him pop up in
watch it.
Westworld?
I don't remember the name of it. It's like was it the longest 7 days or some shit? It's him and Andy Samberg do a tennis movie. It's the longest tennis match ever.
Oh.
It's Kit Harington and him. Dude, it's
I'll see
amazing.
that. I'll
Yeah,
watch that.
watch it.
Is
'Cause
it
it's-
like the racing one?
Yes,
The
very
oh,
similar. Yeah, it's funny.
When did you find out about that?
I watched it when it aired like
When?
a year and a half ago.
What?
Yes.
I recall hearing about this movie. I never saw it. I
Never
think I
saw
saw
It's
the trailer.
amazing. But Kit Harington does good deadpan funny. Kind of like Mark Wahlberg, where it's funny because he's got that straight face.
Tell me about that movie.
It's on there.
I never heard of that.
Oh,
at
dude.
all.
It's glorious.
Yeah, he tried doing a few action things and it didn't pan out. But he could stick with HBO. HBO is loyal to a lot
Well,
of
we
their
saw
actors.
a preview for basically the Golden Compass show.
Yeah. So
That was the Night King, or not Lord Commander.
Lord, yeah.
He was in there. Like, if you watch any HBO shows, you see repeat people
absolutely.
all over the
Yeah,
place.
they'll reuse actors.
Everybody who's in The Wire has been on another HBO show.
Almost all of them has starred in another show.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so I usually end it with
Who's on the
who do you think's going to be on the Iron Throne? Well, let's
Well, let's end it this way instead, unless you have another
no.
one. Okay.
For you, why not? Tell me.
Are you willing to watch a prequel or sequel series? Are you
Yes.
looking forward to that?
D&D will not be a part of it.
That's true.
We know that. I don't hate the series because of the last season. I think the last season was rushed. I think it hurt the stories. I think the last episode was insanely rushed. But you've built a world that I'm interested in. The way it ended didn't. I'd be interested to see what happens after this, knowing if you give it to proper writers.
Yeah, I would watch it, like whatever it is, and it's more of morbid curiosity than anything else. Because, like I said, up until halfway through this season, I even liked this season. I just felt it was a little rushed. I was like, okay, they spend this next episode explaining this, I'll be okay. And then they never did it. And then I was like, all right, well, in the next episode, if they kind of touch on this, I'll be okay. They never did it. So to me, it was there's a couple of things left unexplained. And I don't know if that was on purpose. I don't feel it was on purpose. I feel it was they ran out of time and they just didn't give a shit.
Right.
Because it wasn't money.
No.
If HBO's throwing money at them for another season and 10 episodes this season, it wasn't about money. I mean, every episode was movie budget type thing. So
It was.
for them to rush the story is my
It was
issue.
like $10 or $15 million an episode or something.
So I think if you have somebody else running it who actually gives a shit more about the story, who isn't trying to jump ship to something else because of success of, a series, which I think is more to R.R. Martin's respect as opposed to D&D's respect. Like he wrote a good, solid background for a good story. A very interesting, good story. And I think that has to do with him, not with these guys.
Well, yeah, I same here. It's just that I think that whoever's running the prequel series and whatever possible sequel series we're getting here, I think they're going to be a lot more respectful to the source material, especially given the fallout from this last season.
I would, whatever they do, if I was HBO, I know you're not listening, but if I was HBO, Martin
They
would have to
listen
sign.
everything that says.
Okay,
Game of
there's
Thrones on
one
it.
exec that just happens to be a fan.
I would make Martin would have to approve the scripts. Not saying he would write them or even do.
You want him
corrections.
on there as
He
a
would-
consultant.
He has to. He could veto a script. I would
Right.
give him that power.
Yeah, because he was being like, oh, I don't like that.
He
He
was-
said that during this season.
He was
These
on
seasons, He was
board.
just like,
He was on board with the show for the first 4 or 5 seasons, and then once Euron was introduced, was the point at which he sort of dropped
The
off.
minute
because
that
he
he
was just
saw
like,
that
I
they
don't
want-
agree with that.
He hated it.
Like, yeah, like Euron in his mind is this very powerful, dangerous pirate with a full suit of Valyrian steel
You mean
armor,
it's not Jack Sparrow?
or Danny McBride dressed as a pirate.
That would have been.
That would have been fantastic.
That's basically what it was.
That would have been great. Danny McBride.
They might as well have cast Danny McBride.
I killed Jamie Lannister. That would be great. But yeah, all right, I guess.
Once again, a bunch of unimportant pregnancies that they threw in there. I just wanted to throw that out there because it was something I was just thinking about that pissed me off. You make a big deal of Dany probably being pregnant, then it doesn't fucking matter. Big deal of Cersei being pregnant, doesn't matter. Once again, it was rushed.
None of that mattered. And yeah, exactly. It seems like they created plot lines that they didn't even think about the fact that, oh yeah, we're not giving ourselves time to finish this.
They wrote the last 2 episodes, and yet they did things that didn't, like the White Horse. That's bothering me now. I'm like, what was it? I thought there was a point to it. It's like, no. I want to hear what people have to say online about the Iron Throne being burned and it not mattering at all because they just elected a new king.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay,
Well, like I
we're going
said,
to have another chair. We can
Like
build
we
a chair.
discussed, it would have made sense had John been on it when it got burnt.
What's the
It
name
would've-
of the dragon?
Or at least
castle?
if the
Dragonstone?
Dragonstone. That throne is way cooler than the Iron Throne. I would
It is a
move.
cooler throne.
I would move there.
like that's the capital now.
That's the capital. That's way cooler.
Well, okay. Tribute to the books, Harrenhal, which is, if you look at the map, it's the castle that's in the middle. It's the one where Arya met Tywin Lannister.
Okay.
They were going around that
yeah,
one
yeah,
that was
sure.
basically, it's, you
Yeah.
know, destroyed by dragonfire.
Yes.
It was, haunted from all
Forgot
the
about
people who
that
died. It was
one.
the
Yeah,
biggest
yeah,
castle.
haunted and everything.
So now they're just going to piece up in, King's Landing, where thousands upon thousands of people died. There's nobody going to haunt that place. They're just cool with. They're just going to rebuild.
Yeah, and
That's bullshit.
what about the Lord of the Light, which they completely abandoned dealing with the Lord of Light stuff?
Well, was it Azza here, the
They
Lightbringer?
flushed that down the
So-
toilet.
Oh, Azor
Yeah.
Ahai, yeah, that whole thing.
Azor Ahai.
That meant nothing. In fact,
That
that
meant
if you
nothing.
recall, they had an episode. After the longest night or whatever it was called. First thing Tyrion and Viserys.
Not keep going.
Okay. First thing Tyrion and Viserys talked about. Was like, well, what about the Lord of Light? He did all this and let all these people here. Like, don't think about that. It's not going to make you happy. Their way to tell you that it didn't matter and they don't care about it. As the showrunners, that we're not going to wrap that up.
And that's
Read the books if you care.
Yes, and that's the thing. And that's the thing too. All this foreshadowing, which in the books was playing out, all the foreshadowing mattered. At the beginning of this season, that foreshadowing mattered, and now all of a sudden, the last 3 episodes, they're just like, fuck it.
None of it matters. None of the magic crap matters.
So I think the books will pay a lot more tribute to that. So George, if you are waiting to release it, everybody will buy them now because everybody will be like, well, they fucked up. I want to see what really happened.
Rumor has it,
Do it
at least rumor spread by one of the actors, was it the guy who plays Davos?
There was a rumor
Said that the last 2 books are done.
that he was sitting on them because of HBO wanted him to. I think tomorrow, since it's already aired, we may finally hear from Martin. He's been quiet, but not just whether the books are done, but his opinions I think are going to start flying now. And if he comes
Unless
out, if he just simply tweets, "That's not how the books end," I think he'll sell more books. Because people are like, okay.
Unless his contract says he has to wait for a DVD box set.
It's to wait for the box set. But, all right. Well, we'll see you guys next time for whatever else we do in the future. This part where I'll be like, I have more content coming, but nobody's watching.
We're gonna shoot a
to this
movie.
point.
We're gonna shoot a movie.
Oh, there's
I'm
one.
writing a movie called Dick Ass. It's about,
You got to write that movie now.
I'm genuinely, I got like 8 pages of a script down for it. Anybody want to talk about it? Yeah.
Oh,
The wrestling
Oh
thing?
yeah, I forgot about that.
Do you remember Detroit Rock City?
You still writing
The
that?
movie? Yeah. Detroit Rock City.
Yeah.
Remember that? This is about like a similar setup where it's like an underground. It's a group of friends trying to get into underground wrestling, and the main guy was Dick Ass, and it was Dean Ambrose because the DA. I just kept saying Dick Ass.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought it was an original thing at first. I was like, where did this come from?
It's all the DA.
Yeah. So
I was trying to picture this movie.
thanks, Dean Ambrose. Appreciate
He's
it.
now John Moxley again. He's at AEW.
Yeah, no one cares.
I care.
Well, then he won't care if I use Dick Ass.
All right.
Well, we had a friend who
So if
predicted
any
this.
juggalos,
Oh yeah, yeah. Speak.
if
We had a
any
friend to make sure this
juggalos
was
are
recorded.
watching, please hook me up with was it Crazy Pete and Dirty
Dirty
Harry,
Mike or whatever.
because I think that would be a perfect setting for my Dick Ass movie.
Like, but Crazy Pete. Yeah, we have a friend who predicted this ending like a month ago. I'm not going to say his name because he doesn't deserve the credit for this sloppy ass ending that they came up.
He's one of the only people that watches our
There was
channel.
nothing leading into this. There's no way you can predict this. This is
He's
just.
one of the only people that watches this.
He's going to comment,
You're right.
and
right.
yeah, you were right. Somehow you were right about this. It doesn't make sense that you were right about this, but apparently you saw something I didn't.
Someone read
there were,
Reddit.
There were
That's what he
seeds
did.
that were no
No.
before Reddit.
Before, well, even the details of why
Before the season started, he was
he was
insisting on this.
he was
And I-
describing that Brand would take the throne and that he was planning all of this,
yeah,
which somewhat might be the case.
he said that this is all fitting into Brand's plan, that he'd take the throne, and that he would basically say what was said
When
at-
Brand
during the-
said it, that line.
Yeah,
That's
why do you
they're-
think I'm here? And you know that's
That's
how
why
I
he
got
flipped
up
out.
off the couch, ran to the kitchen, and he's like, because he's like, yeah, you're gonna have to give me a shout out when Brand does that. That's what he told me, and it happened.
It happened exactly.
I'm like, this book doesn't make sense. This is not foreshadowed at all.
Well, you were right.
It's not going to happen in the books. But you were right,
The
Matt.
correct version.
I think it'll be okay. I think that's good. Can you sit in that chair? I say it's the height. I need to know the
I'm
height.
8 feet taller than you.
Yeah, but the yeah, it's perfect.